Thank you very much, Mr. Castro, Mr. Chairman, for your friendship and the many things you've done. I also am an interloper today, so I have to thank the chairperson, Mr. Engel, for allowing me to have this opportunity. I thank Mr. McCall for his friendship, not only here, but also on Homeland Security. Mrs. Pelosi, Speaker, helped us with this issue related to Austin Tice, as did Mr. Hoyer, so I thank them as well. I've been on this 8-year mission, a mission of mercy, along with the Tice family, to secure the return of Austin. And as is known by the people who are here, HRES 17 passed the House recently, bipartisan, bicameral support. It received little attention in the press, which is the predicate for my question. Has this been called to the attention of the President, HRES 17, which would have Mr. Tice and Mr. Kamal Moss returned home? Do you know whether it's been called to the attention, Mr. Rayburn, of the President?
I don't personally know that, Congressman, but knowing the attention that the President has given to the Austin Tice issue, as well as other, unjustly detained or missing Americans, I cannot imagine that it wasn't brought to the White House's attention. And I know my counterpart, Ambassador Roger Carstens, who works on hostage affairs, he was very well informed about that House resolution, and so I'm pretty confident this has been it's been reported, made available up the chain.
Thank you. Moving to another question, UNSCR 2254, does it preclude a negotiated return of Mr. Tice and Mr. Kamal Moss?
No, not at all.
And given that this resolution has passed and the President's aware of it, and we can have a negotiated return of these two persons, and by the way, I would want all persons returned as well. I just happen to be familiar with these two, and I would hope that the family members who heard me make my earlier comments would understand that I want their relatives returned home too. It's important. They've missed them. But given that we've done this, is there anything that you can share with reference to a negotiated return of our friends, of these Americans?
For a fuller accounting of that engagement, I would defer to Ambassador Carstens. What I can say is that we strongly believe that the Syrian government has information about the status, whereabouts of these missing Americans, including Austin Tice, that they have not shared. And we believe that they have it within their means to effect a return of Austin Tice, and certainly a disclosure of his and other missing Americans' status. And they so far have been unwilling to share that information, and they have been pressed by our side to do so.
My final question is something that I didn't really come to ask, but I rarely get this opportunity, so I will. Tartus and Sevastopol are pretty important to the U.S., up to Russia. Russia is a cold water country. Tartus gives Russia a place for its Black Sea fleet to be dispersed. And of course, Sevastopol does. Tartus gives it access to the Mediterranean. How likely is it that Russia will leave Syria, given that Tartus is fairly important to its global designs?
That's a good question, Mr. Green. We have not held out as a condition for the political solution to the conflict that the longstanding Russian military relationship with the government of Syria has to end. We haven't held that out. In fact, the language that we've used is that military forces, foreign military forces that are present in Syria that were not there for 2011 should leave as part of the political resolution to the conflict. So the Russians had a naval presence there for many decades before 2011, and we have not tried to press for their pre-existing relationship to end. Also, the relationship that the Syrian government would have within its international relations and its military relations, that's for the future Syrian government that will result from the political solution and the political transition process that's envisioned under 2254. That's for the Syrian people to decide in the future. So we rely on them to do that.
Mr. Chairman, you were more than generous. Thank you so much. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Green.